President, in July of this year, the Commission and this Parliament threatened Poland with the withdrawal of voting rights due to legislation on the judiciary. Commission and Parliament turned against amendments on the Constitution of Hungary, which included the organisation of public broadcasters. The Commission and this Parliament are fully at ease with the condemnation of laws and constitutions of a democratic state when it doesn't obey the dictates of Brussels. They claim that the EU is a community of values. What they don't say is that laws are subordinate to it, that democratic decisions, that freedom and self-determination are subordinate to it. Freedom, democracy and human rights only apply to member states that serve the EU agenda. For Spain, national sovereignty and the primacy of the Constitution apply. For Poland and Hungary, it doesn't. This EU is indeed a community of values, of double standards. Are you in favour of the EU elitist, globalist agenda? Then you can do anything. When you're against it, they will combat you with all means. The hypocrisy of this Commission has no limits. In September last year, Mr. Juncker explicitly condemned violence against Polish workers in the United Kingdom. In Spain, 800 people have been beaten up and needed hospital treatment because hundreds of thousands were about to vote in a formally illegal referendum. In her declaration, the European Commission only stated violence can never be an instrument in politics. Certainly, violence doesn't belong in politics. And of course, the state has the monopoly to use force to protect the rule of law. The state can use proportional violence to stop unlawful behaviour or to prevent this from happening. But when hundreds of thousands illegally enter a country, would it be proportional to beat up 800 of them to the hospital? Would the response be that violence can never be an instrument of politics? Well, I'm convinced that Mr. Timmermans would explode in anger and this Parliament would demand immediate action. So let me be clear. I fully support the rule of law. That is, the rule of law of the sovereign nation state, of the free nation state, of the democratic nation state. That is the rule of law which should be defended. However, I certainly cannot accept the hypocrisy of this Commission and this Parliament, who are concealing the advancement of their own elitist economic interests as European values. I am completely against silencing opponents, against financing pro-EU propagandists and persecuting EU sceptical parties and member states. And I'm telling Mr. Timmermans and Mr. Verhofstadt, Article 2 calls for respect for human dignity and equality. Equality and respect are not a right only for Europhiles and globalists. It's a right for all citizens in the EU. Start acting accordingly.